Okay, so today we are going to study the techniques of emphasizing in written communication. What is meant by um, em- emphasizing? Emphasizing means give special importance or value to something in speaking or writing. Emphasizing means to show or state that something is very important or worth giving attention to, make something more obvious. Now, when you need to emphasize something, um, what it is that you keep in your mind. You keep in your mind that the attention of someone goes to that specific thing. Now, it can be in verbal, it can be through raising your voice, like rise and fall of the tone, that is intonation. However, in written, you have different methods to communicate or to emphasize something. And for that, we'll come and talk about the techniques of emphasizing. Need for emphasizing to project core idea. Why do you emphasize, or why do you give importance to one thing? You might have studied in psychology that we have perception. Within perception, we give attention to one thing. When you give attention to one thing, it is through emphasizing that one thing that you give your attention to. So if you look at some thing in front of you, however, your eyes may be able to see, the 3D version. With 3D version, you may be able to see everything around you. But when you look at certain thing, you are giving your attention to that thing and you are emphasizing it. Now, you might have studied that there are different reasons through which the emphasis of, while seeing something or sound or all these become you can emphasize it. It can be through the dark color. So if someone is wearing very a bright color or maybe neon color, so instantly your attention goes to that person. This is because that specific color is emphasized, and automatically your attention goes towards that. Why do we need emphasizing? We need emphasizing, first of all, to project our core idea. Core idea is the important idea, or the main idea. So if you want to emphasize your main idea, you can highlight it. You can, there are different techniques that you can do with that to make communication effective. You make your communication more effective through emphasizing the main ideas, just like you give headings and only the main ideas are emphasized. The rest are the explanation to that. So while you are emphasizing on something, your need is to communicate effectively. That is why you're emphasizing on that certain thing. To establish purpose, why you are communicating. Within that communication, you have one important aspect, and that is important aspect is purpose. Now, emphasizing on that specific chunks of information which you think would lead to the purpose of your communication is very important. It's very important that you emphasize those. Okay, to ensure the attention of the attention and retention. So what is attention? Attention, as I've already explained, that it is like you select through the perception. Like there are so many things, but in so many things you give your attention to one thing, means you select one thing because of certain reason. Retention is means staying or retaining for a longer period of time. So you actually ensure that the person, whoever is reading the text, or for whomever you're writing the text, um, would remember it, as well as would give attention to that. Okay, so um, then we have a few tips for emphasizing. Things like italics, bold, underscores, cap, different size types, alternate fonts, color, etc., can act as emphasizing techniques. So as I've already explained that you see a neon color, as someone is wearing a neon color are in, your highlighters are all in colors. So why they are in neon colors? Because when you highlight something, it it is actually you're emphasizing on that specific element, and it is very obvious that your attention would go towards that. Okay. There are other techniques as well, like for example, if you're italicizing it, or you're making it bold or underscores, or caps lock. If you're caps lock, that is you're capitalizing it among the other letters which are, or other words which are small. And it can there can be other methods as well, for example colors and other methods used in excess. Any emphasizing technique lose their ability to emphasize and become distract, cause readers be cause readers to be reluctant to read a text. So if you use emphasizing in excess, then it would lose its importance. Why? Because if you're emphasizing every second or third letter, then there is no use of emphasizing, because emphasizing techniques are used only for those letters or those words or those sentences where you believe that it is important for the reader to understand, or important for the whoever is watching or reading, or it's very important for them to um, give attention to that specific part of your writing. And if you're emphasizing almost all the parts, then it would lose its importance. Okay, emphasizing techniques to be used consistently to prevent readers from becoming confused. Okay, there's one more reason that you use emphasizing um, uh, technique, and that is in that way the reader would not become confused. Now, let me give you example. If you have a 500 words document in front of you without paragraphs, in same font size, in same color, and in same size of writing, nothing is italicized, nothing is bold, nothing is capitalized, would you be able to understand it properly and skim through that? Or would that be easy if I highlight certain parts of that text, or I capitalize certain parts of those texts which I believe are the important chunks of information within that text? Or obviously, it will become easy for the reader to read that text as compared to the one which is the whole paragraph and there is a problem. Secondly, it will you will not get confused if you are reading such text and it is organized just like you have headings, and you know that this heading is the part of the second one and the second is the part of the third one. So that's how it goes. Okay. um, Now we have certain techniques of emphasizing. We can emphasize by position, we can emphasize by repetition, we can emphasize by space, we can emphasize by sentence structure in words, and we can emphasize by mechanical means, which we're going to discuss, for instance, colors. Okay, now what is emphasized by position? Let's suppose it, like the beginning and the endings of a unit of written communication carry more emphasis than the center parts of it. So let's suppose if you are writing a paragraph, and the the first sentence of the paragraph, we call it a topical sentence. And if your topical sentence is actually the main idea towards which you want to emphasize, uh, or to which you want your audience or whoever is reading, the reader, to basically pay attention, then you will place it in the very beginning, or you will place it towards the end. Why? Because towards the end, it's the conclusion. So if you want to emphasize something, you can place it in a position where you feel like it's important. the positions like the first one and the positions like the last one within the paragraph is very important, because we know that normally people start reading and they know that the topical sentence is very important. So it is because of that reason that you the place the important point where you want to emphasize. you em- you place that important point in the beginning, or you place it towards the end. Okay, the example is given over here. You can read this example and it will become clear to you that how you can emphasize. So if you see, it is it can be emphasized. Okay, feels like it's hanged. Here it goes. Emphasizing by repetition. A repetition of the last word of one line or clause to begin the next. That is when it comes to the repetition. So there are so many ways in which you can emphasize by repetition. Repetition of two words again and again, repetition of the two clauses again and again. So you can repeat the um, last word of one line or clause to begin the next. Um, that would be actually emphasizing that specific word. You can also go for repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of successive clauses or verses. For example, I want her to live, I want her to breathe, I want her to aerobicize. Okay, now, in this example, if you look at, we have already studied this in parallelism. So when you are actually going for parallelism, or you're repeating the same sentence again and again with a little chunk of that, or with a little portion of that replaced by the other word, which is substitution, like substituted by the other word. For instance, let me annotate this with the spotlight. Let's see this. So I want her. This I want her is repeated over here. I want her to, right? To this live is substituted by breathe. So here we have substitution. Here it's substitution. Live and breathe is substituted. This is parallelism. This is parallelism because these are parallel structures. So I want her to live, I want her to breathe. It's the repetition over here. One thing is repeated again in the other sentence, and that's how you can also emphasize with the like in the beginning of the sentence. You can take the clauses or you can take the words. You can even take a word, like for example, if you only start with I was the one who did that. I believe that. This I statement, uh, the I word repeated, see, word repeated again and again and again would become repetition and would be used as emphasis, because when we are using it in a verbal sense, it is easy for a person to um, use different stress and intonation techniques to emphasize something. However, when you are writing it, you need these techniques. So, repetition in the form of I, a certain word, can also be um, helpful in that. Okay, then we have, okay, here we don't have this example, but I'll explain it to you. Repetition can also be done like when you are repeating the same thing that is already said by the person. So for example, someone blamed you for something, um, within a question someone said something that was offensive to you, and they say, for example, I believe that you were the one who stole this thing, and you get angry and you are replying and you want to emphasize this word stolen, like you stole it, rather than using other words, you try to repeat the same words in your argument, or in your sentence, or in your messages. And that could be, do you believe that I stole it? Like, stole, using again and again, would within the same structure, using the repetition again and again. That is, you do you believe I stole it? Do you believe that I could have stolen it? Or using this, using the word steal, steal, stealing again and again would also become the emphasis point through repetition. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, emphasis by space. Now, what is meant by emphasis by space? Giving more space to central idea. Now, there are certain ways in which you can do that. One is you can give more space within the words, right? Or you can you can give space in the paragraphs. You might have seen that, if I could do that over here, and you can see. mm, okay, so let's suppose, if I hope you can see my this spotlight. Okay, if this is the sentence, I want to give space to the important aspect of the central idea. Then what you do is, like, you give some, you write it here, you give some space, central idea is here, you give some space, and you go ahead. Just like, for instance, you normally in essays you write a quote, and you write the quote in the mid over here. So here what is written is fine, is not a very important thing for the emphasis. Here you've written something which is not very important for the emphasis. However, when you write it, let's suppose here you have written something, and here you have written something, and you want to emphasize something. Here a paragraph is written, and a paragraph is written over here as well. But what you want, some central idea to be written, so you write it here. This is a space that you are giving to it. So that's how you give um, space in in writing, and you can emphasize it so anyone would be able to read it. Even the headings could be something which is space as well. Okay, you can do, you actually contrast and support it through giving space. This is the significance of giving space, contrasting and supporting, right? This is like, you can, why do you emphasize by space? Either you like go opposite to that, or the same argument that you're giving. You might have seen that sometimes we even write two opposite ideas because we want to emphasize both of them. So we write one over here and one over here. It's the space that we are giving. One over here and one over here. It's the space that we are giving. I hope it's clear to you all, because you people asked me this question, that what is space? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Yes, so emphasizing by sentence structure and use of the words. What is emphasizing by the sentence structure? As you all know, that you place important information in short phrases, simple sentences, so that it will not have to compete with other information for the reader's attention. Do you think that when we are giving headings, Are they the short form of what we have already written in a paragraph, in the form of a paragraph? Yes. We always bring shorter forms of the sentences. So, a short form of the sentence, or you can, use of the word can bring this element over there. Can bring this element over there, and let's come to the next slide. Okay, this can be done by careful choice of words. You always give headings, or even simple sentence structures can be used by concising them. So obviously you need a better choice of words. Use of strong words. Strong words not is not just like words which contain good meaning or a complete meaning of a word. You can say in that sense. So for example, if you say a word can be which can be explained in one simple word, so um, then you, like for example, context with the sentence, so that is utterance. So rather than writing um, in the heading context with the sentence, you write a concise word or sentence, and you write utterance. So it is actually a strong word as compared to sentence and context, because sentence and context both combined together makes utterance. A use of transitional words. Transitional words can be, any other alternate words, the same, any other alternate word which is more um, powerful or more influential as compared to the other word. Developing proper sentences or and paragraphs. So proper sentences and paragraphs are very important when it comes to emphasizing something. Obviously grammatically and through the choice of words, it's important. Repeat keywords. Wherever you have keywords means important words, you have to repeat them, and that's how you can do it through the within the paragraph. It's related to the paragraph that you can do it in within a paragraph. Like for instance, you are writing a paragraph, and in within that paragraph you emphasize those, repeat those keywords, and this would mean that you are actually emphasizing that certain word. Use of active voices. Why do we use active voices? We use active voices because this emphasis, in when we are emphasizing something, we have to be active, in actively involved in that. So when you read a sentence, active sentence, you feel that the person is not passive in that. So therefore it is normally preferable to use active voice as compared to passive voice. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Emphasis by mechanical means color. So mechanical means, within that we have colors. Like there are many colors you can use. As I've already told you that you can use the bright colors for the headings. You can bold them for colors. Within colors you can, for emphasis you can also highlight it. So you can use many techniques by doing this, by using colors, and you can even give headings in different colors. So that's how you can emphasize by colors. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. You can also italicize. We have already studied that, or I've talked about it in the very beginning as well, that you can also italicize if you want to emphasize something. The examples are already given over here, and you can also underline. Now, let me, because it's academic writing, so let me explain it to you that whenever we are writing some research-based article or some formal writing, we always try to go for either italicizing it or underline. Do not do both in the same document or with the same word. So for example, let me give you example. So for example, if oh god, so for example, if it's not working, here it is. Okay, so let's suppose this and in the example of underline, use auxiliary as shall be in the given sentence. So this shall be is actually underlined. Please do not use them together. That is, shall be italicized, just like in the examples given above, and as well as underline. You cannot do both. You have to use one. However, in research, this italicize is more preferable as compared to the underline. However, people use both, but more appropriate one is italicizing. This is just for the research purpose. You can also use the other methods. Okay. You can also bold the whatever the sentence or the word or the phrase you are trying to emphasize. You can also bold that, and in order to retain the attention of the audience or whoever is reading your text. Okay, size. This is very commonly observed in the students' writings, that their writing is not in the standard. The standard writing font is, as you all would be, uh, you would be typing your assignments. So the standard size is 12 font and with Times New Roman style. However, students they go more than 12 because they believe that in this way their document would seem more in length, because the more you increase the size, the more pages it would occupy. So this is incorrect. However, you can increase the size of one word, and that's how you can emphasize it. The other method can be uh, that you're using uppercase. I've already given you the example of uppercase, that is capitalize everything, and that's how it would seem. See, this while box is in the uppercase, so it's if you see that B, O, and X all are capitalized. That's how you give emphasis to any word or sentence. It can be sentence as well. Okay. Punctuation marks. Our next lecture is going to be about punctuation marks. So we'll discuss them in detail. However, just for this, you know, part in this topic, in particular, the exclamation mark gives a strong emphasis. That is, if you are emphasizing something and within the sentence or within the text, it can be any text message as well, written message as well. So if you're writing something and you're uh, putting exclamation mark after that, it is very obvious that the reader would grasp uh, it would grasp the attention of the reader, and the reader would go directly towards that. Is the same is the case with inverted commas as well, though it's not mentioned here. Same is the case with the inverted commas as well, that something in inverted commas would instantly grasp your attention, and you'd be able to know that this is something which is important, just like when we give quotations in an essay. So the whole document is in the same font size with no inverted commas. However, when you are giving a quotation, you want to emphasize it, so you put it in inverted commas. However, I need to give one more information to you all, which I believe that I have already given to you in your previous semester, I guess. That let me okay. That when you put inverted commas, a quote in inverted commas, you can write it in the same flow. For instance, let's just uh, put inverted commas to this. Use sparingly, right? Now, here within this, I have put inverted commas, so I'm emphasizing this, correct? But if let's suppose I want to emphasize it with the space, then I don't need to put inverted commas at all. If you if you read this or you write it till here, strong emphasis, and then you write use sparingly over here, and then you write the rest of the sentence from here, that is be very from here, here. So you have already given space to that. However, uh, when you are giving the space, you're not supposed to put inverted commas. That's how we write in research. We when we are writing something in, we call it in indentation. When we increase indentation and we write it and give it a space in the other line, somewhere in the mid, then we do not put inverted commas. You need to remember that. Okay. Let's okay. Conclusion. In every writing project, a clear plan and strong knowledge of your audience will help you make the most effective sentence choices. Um, that is, whatever you are writing, you need to know your audience before knowing, before writing everything. Because if you know your audience, you will emphasize everything according to your audience. So let's suppose if you're a content writer writing for a blog, and your blog is to attract some car racers, then your um, article must have certain elements where you want to emphasize, and those elements, those words, those phrases, whether you use whichever technique, you know your audience, that they would be they'd be attracted if the car if they are if you're attracting car racers. So it's obvious that they would be attracted by certain names of the cars or certain modification techniques that you're using. So you can use those over there in the article for the emphasis, and that's how you can make your project more appealing to your audience. Thank you.